Okay.
Hello.
Hello. Looks like we're technologically set up here.
We did it. How's my audio?
Audio's fantastic. How is mine?
Excellent. Yours is also fantastic.
Cool. ah, um, yeah, this feels good too because this is the first publicly recorded, like, find your breakthrough styled call, whereas the previous iteration was called curiosity calls.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so it feels cool to share this with you. Okay. Yeah, I feel like ready to start getting started if you're also ready to get
Yeah,
going
let's
here.
do it.
Sweet. Okay. Um, so here we are on a call. My goal here, my purpose, is to be of service to you. And the format for that is that you'll share whatever circumstance, situation, opportunity that feels salient and relevant to bring up with me on this call. I will listen. I will reflect back to what I'm hearing, and I will ask questions that are emergent just from my natural, abundant curiosity about whatever's in my awareness. In this case, whatever you're telling me. Um, I've found often that just through curious conversation, the client finds a next step or insight or some reframing of the situation that is useful or beneficial to them. Um, so I'll use that along with whatever goal you tell me soon to inform how I show up in this conversation. Everything we discuss here is fully confidential, aside from the fact that
People are
we are
listening.
talking on a publicly recorded Twitter space, and it will be forever and always available as long as Twitter servers exist.
It's like the opposite of confidentiality.
I'm not gonna blab about it
Yes, I
anyway.
get that part.
Yeah. Let's see. When we have 5 minutes left in the container of this call, I'll either hold up a hand like this or just verbally tell you, depending on who's talking. Um, Yeah, I believe that's about it. So, with all that in mind, Michelle, I would love to know, what is your goal for this conversation?
So it's actually something that I was thinking about and tweeting about this morning, which is that I, you know, I've been being coached for many years and I am a coach. And so I'm always thinking about things like my capacity and what are my goals for this time period. And I'm constantly working on things. And one of my repeated things that's just been in place since the first time I ever spoke to a coach is that I always seem to be doing too many things. I am overcommitted as fuck. When I met my first coach, she's like, "All right, we're gonna separate into like four project goals. So, what are your four projects?" And I said, "Well, I have 12." And she said, "You have four. What are they?" And I mean, everyone I've ever worked with has struggled with this with me, and like I've struggled with this with me because I have shiny object syndrome, and I'm
Yeah.
constantly like, "Oh, but this project would be fun," and I'm right, it is fun, but I'm a little hesitant at the moment to define anything that any particular goals or whatever because I just keep adding things to my plate.
Mhm.
And so I guess I would love to walk away with some new awareness around this or some kind of a framework through which to look at this moving forward because I've quit a lot of things. I've taken a lot of things off my plate, but it just always seems like I find more and become overwhelmed yet again. And I'm sick of myself.
uh, I loved hearing all that. I can definitely relate. And I wrote some notes for myself, just for myself, to like
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
the gist of what you said in mind just throughout the hour here. Okay, so got it. Excited to chat about that. Whenever you're ready, feel free to start.
Yeah. Um, I think right now I'm in this strange limbo because I did just take something huge off my plate. I've been leading coach training programs for the last 12 years, and leading that is extremely time and emotionally intensive. Like both, it's like a lot of my time, it's a lot of my emotional capacity, and I'm just taking a break right now, and I'm stepping down from it for the year and maybe beyond. I don't know. I'm still doing other stuff with the company, but not like heading up a cohort of a year-long program, and I've done 16 of those at this point. So like this has been my life for over a decade.
Mhm.
Uh, and I'm actually helping with one of them this weekend, and then I'm out. It's like the last weekend that I'll be working, and I've worked at least one weekend a month for the last 12 years on this thing. So it's like I'm in this space where I feel like I have the propensity to fill all the space with stuff,
Mhm.
but I kind of haven't even landed in okay, well, where am I? What am I doing? What is it like without this in my life on a regular basis? And actually struggling with the calm and the space in my schedule, and it's like
Mhm.
champagne problems, but I it's very uncomfortable. I've been actually more stressed out in the last month than usual because almost like habitual, you know?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, wow. I'd really love to understand better what it is about having done the coach training program. Like, besides it being a literal filler of your time,
Yeah.
what benefits did it give you? Like, just personally in your career, however you want to scope
Oh my
that.
gosh, so many. I mean, one thing is this level of accountability because I'm being looked at and looked to by people who have invested a lot of money and a lot of time. And so I'm a model
Mm.
of the work, and for a while that created in me this performative I need to show up looking a certain way kind of thing. And then later it transformed into more of a, these people are counting on me, and having people counting on me actually works really well for me. It's a good support structure for me to show up for myself because I can connect the dots between showing up for me and showing up for others.
Mm.
So that's been great. And also,
Yeah.
I mean, the work never stops. I think when I first was in the program myself, it was like new breakthroughs and awarenesses every few days, and you're just constantly in the state of transformation and really um, just have a hyper focus on that.
Mhm.
And then it grows and changes, but it never really stops happening. So that's been my accountability structure for a long time.
Mhm. Yeah, like I can imagine the sudden sort of like cut off of like that uh, thing in your life that was giving you personal development, accountability.
Yeah.
It sounded kind of like maybe status, like people looking up to you, some sort of
Sure.
maybe like ego, or just feels good
Yeah.
to be the knowledgeable person in the room. All that's cut off now; it's gone.
Yeah.
Just sitting with your glass of champagne and just have an open schedule. Hmm. Yeah. Did you? I guess I'm curious. Like, did you know going into like the quitting that you would be in this space where you are right now, like having nothing? Like, did you anticipate being where you are right now, like emotionally?
Interesting. I really didn't know what to expect because
Hmm.
it has been so long of just the same thing.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
mean, I've had friends. I've also have a few friends who have led for a really long time and then left and either picked up something else similar or not. And one of my best friends did not pick up anything else similar. She's just gone on with her own coaching practice and started a little YouTube channel, and like it's all good. But I think she struggled in the same way. It was just 2 years ago, so it's not fresh on my mind. So I wasn't
Mhm.
necessarily even thinking about it. I think I just got to a point of being really tired and was like, "Hey, I need to tap out because I'm so tired and I can't I can't do another year right now."
Mhm.
Um, so honestly, I don't even think I was thinking about it.
Mhm. You just. It sounds like you sort of knew it was just essential to to rest, to take care of yourself, and this is the way to do it.
Yeah.
Hmm. And yet, from the goal you stated, it sounds like there's just an urge or an eagerness or just a propensity to just fill up that time with more stuff immediately.
Yeah, and also like backlogged projects that haven't been moved forward in the last X number of years because I've been so busy with
Mhm.
this. Like I have a book I wrote with my friend. We haven't put it out. It's done.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, we spent 7 years writing a book and now it's just sitting in a Word doc, you know? And we keep declaring like, okay, we're gonna do this with it. We're gonna whatever, we're gonna move it forward. And then something else comes up and we don't. Or just the ever impending, I want to write an album goal, or I don't know, I have a lot of irons already in the fire, so a lot of it is like, okay, I want to get back onto that stuff, but then constantly also new projects and wanting to do fun things in the moment that feel alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. I feel like there's competing or conflicting desires and interests here. Like
Yes.
you want to rest and you want to do the other fun, cool projects.
Yeah.
Um, and usually when I hear like a this or that, it raises like a red flag, like "Woo, woo, this or that,
Hmm.
danger. There's not ever only two options. Um, yeah. So is there like a third way that's somehow either accommodating both these needs for rest and productivity, or um, I don't know, somehow prioritizing one over the other that feels good to you? Like what's
Hmm.
something? Yeah, like I'm skeptical of like it being only like rest or overloaded with these projects.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I probably just have it all collapsed together. Um, I'm sure there's another way. And I've been doing the overwhelmed and overcommitted thing for most of my life, like pretty much my
Mhm.
entire life. So it's like, it feels almost insurmountable. Like
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
like it's just true. It's how it is. It's who I am.
Yeah, yeah, and like I would be so curious to like know like who is Michelle when she like purposefully has an open schedule or just has time not overloaded with projects. Like that to me there's like a part of like you know you're been in this career for decades. You don't there's part of you where you don't know who you are in the sense you don't know what it's like to be you when you have this like capacity and availability. Like
Yeah.
there's a person within you who you don't actually know because you've never been
Mm.
there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to get to know her, but like it sounds like this is a prime opportunity to explore that if you want to.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think I get glimpses of her
Mm.
usually when I'm with my kid,
Hmm.
because my kid is a demand for presence and fun and romance. Everything is romantic
Mm.
in life. It's just delightful. Like we I took her to a place to get her haircut that she had been to when she was little, and when we pulled up, she goes, "I'm already getting tears." And it's like partially a performance, it's partially just her like being a little dramatic, but also
Mhm.
she really loves to romanticize life. And so when I'm with her, I get to be this easeful, whimsical version of me that that actually gets a lot of shit done from whimsy and ease and just
Mhm.
play and fun with her.
Mhm.
Um, and I feel myself sometimes hardening and going back into, we don't have time for that. Let's go. And I sound like my mom,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. I also like envy the playful, like carefree, effortless kind of like quotes
Mm,
productivity of children. That feels like a sort of like balance strike where the kids are over indexed on like the fun relaxedness, and like adults tend to be on like the all right, take care of money, time, schedule, logistics, all the boring adult stuff.
yeah.
It's fun like when they interact with each other because you get to see like oh yeah the other polarity I so often forget. It's like it's good for kids to, like learn how to be a little structured. It's good for adults to learn how to be a little like loosey goosey and more fun and relaxed.
Yeah. My kid, when we are in a rush to get ready, I have to turn it into a game. Like
Hmm.
one of our games is beast mode. She'll yell
Yeah.
beast mode, and then we growl and snarl while we put her clothes on as fast as possible. Those moments, like that's who I am when I'm not in this other space. I'm really grateful for that question because I can see that I occupy that space often, but don't necessarily relate to myself as that person. It's more like a momentary dip into it.
Yeah, like you don't get to be that by default. It's just like
Right.
a brief little vacation thanks
Yeah.
to your daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I think I want to like go back to like understanding like you spoke of your priorities like you want to, like you said you took care of yourself and want to have a framework for this moving forward. Um Yeah, to me, like important things here are like top priorities, maybe constraints. Like I want to understand like the parameters of what you're working with here. Like I understand already like free time now, no more coach training, a number of projects that all seem like fun and exciting, and the desire to rest. Are there other sort of like constraints or factors that you haven't spoken of here yet?
Well, I need to make money.
Yes.
That keep the
Right.
family running. You know, I have my daughter, but also my mother-in-law and brother-in-law live with us, so I do make a lot of money, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it all the time because I'm supporting so many humans.
Hmm.
Um, and of course, because I work for myself, if I just stop, I mean, at any given moment, my income could change dramatically, very
Hmm.
dramatically. Um, and I guess I'm always in this push pull with do I need to like go into hustle mode with my business and do something, or is what I have right now sufficient, and is it okay? And I guess a lot of my work is so unpredictable, especially the corporate work, because I mean one of the companies I work for is now maybe facing a merger and everything's getting delayed. So shit like that, where I'm like, oh, okay, well, I was counting on tens of thousands of dollars from this
Mm.
soon.
Yeah.
And is that happening, or do I need? And I just feel like I'm generally in a limbo right now, in a number of ways, and I've been in that limbo for months at this
Mhm.
point. Um, but priorities are. It's like, what are my priorities, or what do I actually want them to be? Two
Mhm.
different questions.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
I mean, listing like the money one is like a useful or helpful potential North Star, perhaps,
mhm.
because it does sound like particularly important to you. So, like one frame for this is that this might be hard to like quantify or know the exact numbers, but if you can try to imagine like your income has dropped by some amount X uh, from just not doing this coach training program anymore. Um, I would wonder like what percentage of X, like do you want to like get back to like making X through something else, like half of X, a quarter,
Well,
10%?
I'll stop you there because I was
Yeah.
not making a lot of money doing the coach training program. It
Oh,
was
okay.
almost like a nonprofit
Oh
thing.
wow. Okay, yeah, that's
I
super
mean,
helpful to know.
not completely. Like I got paid for it, but if you actually calculated the number of hours and then like the
Yeah,
emotional
sure.
lift that it
Cost.
is,
Mhm.
absolutely not making anything from it.
Mhm.
So I kind of related to that as my service, like my being of service in the world. Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I don't necessarily need to replace that income. It's more like maintenance, like maintaining or growing. Because the last time I checked in on the numbers with my husband, we basically just decided it would be really great if I could get back to 20 grand a month,
Okay.
which the last time I was at that, I killed myself. I just like, I was, my
Mhm.
health out the window. I was like, I was a shell. I was a Michelle, if you will. Um, and then I had to take a whole year off the internet and off building my business to recover from it.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's like, so I think that's also why I'm a little trepidatious about being really balls to the wall. Like, let me go back into, and the thing you reflected of it, this or that. It's it's because like I usually am very extreme. I either stop altogether or I go really really hard, and I'm kind of struggling with existing in the liminal space between those two things.
Yeah. This brings to mind like our friend, Visa's phrase "optimize for survival,"
Uh huh.
where like what is the way to both get to the income level or maintain the income level where you're taking care of all the people you're taking care of in your life and you don't burn out.
Right. Right.
What's that? It could be like a narrow, tricky, wobbly path, but surely there's like
Right.
some path that like allows you to fulfill both of those
And
sort of
his life
important.
has been like particularly simple, well, up until now, because he's got a kiddo now, so it's starting
Yeah.
to get more complex and more things to think about.
Mhm.
um I always envy his okayness around it, and he's my good friend, so I know that it's not always just butterflies and kittens and rainbows. But yeah, that sort of like, oh yeah, whatever, I'm gonna figure it out. I have that,
Hmm.
but I'm also, you know what? I thought of something while in the last like just few minutes that if I were to really focus on my business, I think I have to get back to um, the focusing on the roller coaster offering
Hmm.
because that's been my thing I want to do for a really long time. And so last summer I put it out there and started going with people, and I'm scheduling, uh, but I haven't actually scheduled officially anything for the year. So that's one of the things on my list. And I think it's probably one of the highest priorities for me is to really engage with that offering because it combines the whimsy and the fun and the play with building my business. And it's
Hmm.
been on now that I'm like sitting here going, well, duh, that's been on the fucking back burner.
Yeah, it's in your display name, the
Yeah,
emoji.
I mean, I did that, but that idea, you can find tweets from 2014 with me talking about that idea and not
Mm.
actually doing it.
Hmm.
So I think I have, it's someone just the other day was like, what's that thing that you're not doing that you're really scared to admit is the thing?
Yeah.
And maybe all this other shit is just distraction from actually focusing on that.
Mm. Yeah, pretty clear. Like roller coaster coaching fulfills the whimsy side. How does it sit with you, like as a for the financial priority as well? Is it fulfill you there?
Well, because what is actually, and I already, so much of my financial stuff was always tied up with, well, what does my husband think? Is he okay with this? And I would always go off
Mm.
and do things by myself. And then he'd be like, why are you doing that? What about our money? But in this case, he and I have looked at this together, the roller coaster stuff. He is fully on board. He even said to me, he's like, what if you spend all of 2024 not worrying about making any money doing this? Just let everything, your corporate work and your clients fund, your ability to just go to as many amusement parks with as many people as possible in 2024, build up case studies, build up testimonials, get the offer
Mm.
really crisp and clear. And then January 2025, hit the ground running with a really clear offer that has a lot of information and experience to back it up. And we both like agreed that's what I'm going to do. And here we are. It's almost March. I've talked to Tasha about going on roller coasters. I've talked to a few people, but nothing is in the calendar. You
Hmm.
know, I want to come to Austin. I want to go with you. Like there's so many things, right?
Mm. Yeah. Huh. Interesting. So there's like some disconnect between like the desire and like there's alignment with your husband, like that's all set. It sounds like
That's all
financially it's
there.
like, and yet 2 months into the year hasn't happened. What?
I think
Yeah.
okay. Here's what I think it is, and this is also the why I go to 80% and then stop.
Hmm.
And I tweeted about this the other day. I was like, I think a lot of my procrastination is downstream of not wanting to be disappointed.
Hmm.
And someone said, disappointing others or yourself? I was like, it's me disappointing myself because I've disappointed other people plenty. I've put stuff out there and then taken it away over
Yeah.
the last 10 plus years many times to the point where I'm like, does anyone even believe me anymore? Because
Hmm.
I've like, launched and then stopped things so many times. But this one's important. And I think
Hmm.
I have Bambi legs at actually seeing a big thing like this through because it just would be it's a bigger undertaking, or it's more, I think it's not it is logistically bigger than other things I've done, but it's emotionally bigger because it's mine. The coach training program is someone else's company that I work with that I
Hmm.
am seen as a figurehead of, and I'm the face of it,
Hmm.
whatever, but it's not mine.
um, I am so like tempted to like just give a roller coaster metaphor of like,
Please.
right, well, whoops, for one thing, I do this too. It's like the Bambi legs thing. There's a fear of like disappointing yourself that not going how you want it to,
Yeah.
and so to not reach the outcome of like a maybe failure, you reach a definite failure by not even trying. Like
Exactly.
roller coaster golfing is not working out right now. I'm telling you that just because you're not doing it. That's the case right now in this moment. Just in case you weren't aware, you are failing at it. Just want to make that clear. You have reached your like you're afraid, you're fearful outcome. Like you are in that
Right.
failure state
Well, you know
right
what the other fear is? That I will start doing it and then I'll hate it. And I'll be
now.
like,
Oh,
shit, why did I put all this time into it? It actually isn't as fun. That all actually I don't even know if I've said this out loud to anyone.
yeah.
Um but I'll sometimes I'll be in the fall, I would go to theme parks and I'd be there and kind of look around and go, it's kind of sad here. Like there's a sort of, especially Great Adventure, because it's like just it's known for having really great rides but really terrible theming. So it's not like going into a Disney park where everything's magical everywhere. It's sort of like dirty and it's not cohesive, and you don't really feel like you're walking into a magical wonderland. You're walking into a place where there are really intense roller coasters that you can walk very far to get to in this like maze of a park. So sometimes I'm there and I'm just like, do I want to be here all the time with people? Is this actually what I want to do?
Mm.
And my vision isn't just going to that park, it's going around the world and meeting teams, not just one person, but getting hired by a company to take their team for a day and like doing offsite workshops with them and stuff like that. So it's much bigger than this. And maybe I'm just, mentally sabotaging myself by worrying.
Yeah. Oh man, it's like, are you willing to potentially hate or be disappointed by like the local this first year of like the digging
Yeah.
into roller coaster coaching in pursuit perhaps of like the grander amazing journey of like the worldwide
Yeah.
Michelle's coaster tour experience with corporations?
You know, you just saying that. So you said, "Are you okay with the local?" And my head went, "Well, no, 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 because this year I'm also going to travel." And I think that's it, because I keep making things too big. I bite off more than I can chew, and then I don't do anything. So what I just realized when you said that is, what if I focus on local, which
Yeah.
can include um, anything within driving distance
Hmm.
of me. But I think part of why I'm delaying is because I have to go to Texas, and I have to go to Ohio, and I have to get on planes. And so in order to get on planes, I have to have a budget to get on planes. Oh God, how am I even going to budget for that? You know what? I won't even think about this right now.
Hmm.
So like that's what goes through my head. But I could actually create a more realistic plan, a more like slow, consistent, realistic, okay, it's going to be people coming to me. Here's how that can work, and work out some of the logistical shit that sometimes gets in my way, so that I'm not biting off more than I can chew and then deciding not to eat at all.
Hmm. Yeah. And how are you going to avoid like it sounds like you have a failure motive, like, you want to like go fast, like you want to go heavy. So how do you keep yourself entertained or like enjoying this like slow development of it?
Oh my God, that's such a good question.
Yeah. One thing I think about is like constraints and how to play with them. So there's people. Could you like explore some type of client you never worked with? There's location. Is there a park in driving distance you've still somehow never been to? There's
Yeah.
like time. Have you gone like early in the morning plus like an hour before closing? Like, yeah, what are like constraints you can play with here to like make it fun for
Yeah,
yourself?
yeah. Well, actually, what came up, and you know, check me on this because it might
Yeah,
just be making it more complicated.
great.
But I tweeted the other day. I found this Lego looping coaster that has a
Mhm.
motor, and it's like $400. It's and then Visa was like, "That would look great in the background of your videos," and I was like, "What videos? I'm not making videos." But I could, and I've thought about that, and making, so when Tashin and I go to Great Adventure, he's gonna
Mhm.
make videos as like a almost like payment, like he's gonna take video of it and vlog
Wow.
about it.
Mhm.
And the video space in the roller coaster world is mm, not as interesting as it could be. And I've thought about what if I make it into also I'm creating stuff from all of the different interactions I'm having. And again, that just sounds like more work immediately, but
Mhm.
I am going to go buy that Lego roller coaster and I'm going to put it here. And then I'm like, I do want to make videos
Mhm.
uh, again, which is also loaded because I think, I was a YouTuber. And I mean, it's
Yeah, that
video just in general has a lot of
the
energy for me.
fame, the fame drug. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
and just the amount of work that goes into it. I feel tired before I
Mhm.
even start when I think about making videos.
Mhm.
Um, but also, if it was for something that might change it, because I keep getting pulled in that direction creatively.
Mhm.
I think just from the question of what's gonna keep it interesting for me. I think more people being involved. That's one
Mhm.
thing. And if I do video again, I think I need someone else to do the editing. So having a
Mhm.
team, which has always been on my wow. And I was just talking to Visa about this the other day. We're both like, wow, I actually can't get further than I am without involving other people and being a
Yeah.
people leader. And
Mhm.
I've been training for that forever in the company I was working with, but I don't have my own team.
Mhm. Yeah. Mm-mm. Um, yeah, this makes me uh, wonder. Like, it sounds like there's a good like energy behind doing the videos. Two things I'm wondering about. Like, could you still be present? Like, of course, you want to like prioritize doing the work for the clients while you're there. And so, if you're like trying to do video stuff too, potentially, and maybe you don't know until you go for it, that could like take you away from like being present and prioritizing like being in the park and being with the
What are we
client.
doing?
Maybe
Yeah,
it's be worth
it
just like
could.
knowing for yourself that.
It
Um,
could, unless I set it up like I think what takes most of the energy out of things for me
yeah.
with video is the thought of the editing because I was an
Right.
editor.
Okay. If you
So
know you're not.
yeah, if I knew I was just taking random video and then dumping it in someone else's lap and they have to figure it out, that
Mhm.
sounds delightful to me.
Great. Yeah. The other thing I was wondering about is, um, yeah, like does this plan of just film, pass off the editing, is that like a good pace? Is that going like too fast? Like, is that the right like slow way of rolling it out
Mhm.
for you? Just want to check that for
It
yourself.
could be. It could be. My husband suggested taking a lot of video and not necessarily posting it or doing
Mm.
anything with it, but starting to like collect it,
Hmm.
which also sounds like like a digital organizational nightmare to me, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. That's just
Hmm.
because I'm horrible with pre-production planning or I historically don't do it. I just jump
Mm.
in. Um,
Okay.
so the theme here is like bringing on people to help and having clear plans and agreements about what's going to happen so that I can just wild out and be silly inside of the container I've created.
Mm. Hmm. Yeah. So often that like having clear constraints and adhering to them, not compromising on them later. Those hard
Right.
constraints let you play inside the container really just lets you go wild creatively.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is exciting. I for one would love to watch new and compelling like roller theme park vlogs that are from a
Thanks.
fun coaching place. Um, yeah, like yeah, it seems like we've covered like sort of like the scaffolding of this. Is there anything missing from like sort of like the structure, scaffolding, like plan you've laid out here that feels relevant to like just this is gonna be recorded so you can like listen back to it later. Just know for yourself.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing I need to do is make a list of the parks I'm committing to going to and
Hmm.
taking some off because I have some on my list that maybe just are not going to happen this year. And I need to accept that now instead of what's been happening, which is I'm hurtling through time towards the dates when I roughly said I would go. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wait. am I really going to go to Cedar Point? It's not that far away, but it's a big spend because I want to
Mhm.
do the fast passes. I want to be there for 3 days. They have them. They're like the roller coaster capital of the U.S. Cedar Point.
Mhm.
It's literally an island or a peninsula that's just filled with roller coasters, and there's like beach next to them. It's it's just a magical land.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really want to go
Hmm.
there, but I'm also like, how far is that? I don't know. I think I need to make some kind of agreement with myself
Mhm.
about a mileage radius that I'm traveling, uh,
Mhm.
and maybe nothing beyond like 4 hours away.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. List of parks. Because my friends will be like, "Come to California, do this," or "Elodes is in New Zealand, come there." I'm like, "Yeah, great. I, I could just hop on a plane tomorrow. Let's do it." No, and it's
Mhm.
not even a money thing; it's more a time thing. I mean, it is a money thing, but it's mostly a time thing because I've got a lot of back to the family and money priority. I've got my kid and the extended family and our puppies that are extremely high maintenance and have to
Mhm.
be watched at all times. Otherwise, they continue to destroy the furniture and bite holes in our wood floor.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. um, yeah, and I wonder if like it feels smart, this approach to like really know and internalize the full scope of all your constraints here. Just because like this happens just anywhere. It's an energy drain to like be in like an indecision mode of like, oh, do I do this or do I not? Like that
Right.
takes away energy that could be put towards like what you know you do want to do today.
Yes.
So like wondering like, is Cedar Point in the future? You can like waffle on that for a month or whatever, and ultimately not do it.
Right.
Same outcome as if you decide no,
Or I
done.
could plan it haphazardly, go and have it negatively impact a whole bunch of shit because
Mhm.
I was flinging something at the wall and hoping it sticks.
Mhm.
So it feels very relieving to the idea of why don't I take off the table faraway travel and really focus in. And if faraway travel comes up in some magical way, like there's a company in California and they want to pay and fly me there to do this with them, okay, that that would be the
Mm.
easy mode. But I'm not gonna try and make that shit happen.
Yeah. Um, this might be a bit of a divergence. If we don't want to go here, let me know. But it could be useful too. Like this sounds like another constraint. Like, do you know the number for like where you will sacrifice that like time, which you express as a
Mm.
priority, to get flown out to California and do that
Oh
thing?
yeah.
Yeah. Like, do you know that number for yourself?
Mm.
Just so you don't have to like decide later on if you hear something like feels like close to it, but you don't actually know.
Right. I mean, I'd have to be making like legit corporate coaching rates doing that, which I know those numbers. Yeah.
Mhm.
It wouldn't
Yeah.
be like, we'll give you $100. You know, it would be a really substantial payday for
Cool.
me.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. I know the relative range in my head, and I know what my husband would be excited about. That's always my barometer. Is like because certain things turn him from like cynical and not so sure about it to being like a fucking hell yes, and he'll support whatever has to happen for it.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, I think I'll intuitively know that if it
Mhm.
happens.
Mhm. Okay. Hmm. I also want to go over like this. So often is the case, like the start of like some shiny new, like we're in a shiny object thing right now, like the roller coaster whole experience and the vlogging and like the plan beyond 2024. It's a nice shiny object right now. Um, can you anticipate like something like not feeling as good as it might feel right now, looking forward to it, or just like some negative outcome where you still know you're like committed to this, but just like today it feels kind of crappy. Like I'm wondering like I feel like that eventually will happen, just like the nature of like trying new stuff. Um, how will you take care of yourself? How will you assess like, do I need to pivot or recalibrate, or is it just a bad day? Like, how do you think about that for yourself in this
Yeah,
like exciting new venture?
it's a great question. Yeah, how will I take care of myself
Mhm.
when it inevitably doesn't go. I mean, I've already had disappointments in this realm. So I had a friend fly from California to come here and go to Great Adventure with me. And when she landed, she got sick. So she ended up just staying at my house for a few days sick, and we never went to the park. And that sucked because she literally just bought a plane ticket and came here to do this. And I was very bummed out. But one of the ways that I just kind of kept myself going by continuing to schedule and not having it be the thing that means it's never going to work. That was one thing. But I also think I can build in rest days. I tend to just think I can handle more than I can handle, just as a general statement. But one of the things that the coach training program instilled in me and that I took very seriously this whole time. So the coach training program is a huge emotional drain when you lead for the weekend. You get up really early, start having meetings around 7 a.m., and you're not done until 7 p.m. And there's breaks in there, but and that's for 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
So whenever I have a program weekend, I don't work on the Friday before and I don't work on the Monday after. And I've been because otherwise you end up working 10 days in a row because you don't have a weekend.
Right.
I've been very good and very strict with myself about that, and have learned more and more what do I need to do on those off days. And it's stuff like going to the spa and moving between a sauna and a cold tub over and over, and getting various, I don't know, just spending the day somewhere where I don't have to think about anything and recover. Yeah. And I think building in more rest and recovery will be really important as I embark upon this. And that's something I can draw from, because again, when it was for the program, I don't know, there's stuff I would do for myself around a program weekend that I wouldn't do for myself on a regular weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a shift. There's just an overall shift for me to have in how I'm taking care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Which I talked to my coach about that last week, and then I made all of these plans and then immediately rebelled against pretty much every plan that I made for myself.
Oh.
Because that's what I do.
Oh, tricky.
Yeah, I'm very tricky.
Okay. Well, I mean, like having that awareness of the need for this time for self-care feels like useful.
It is, and I think one of your earlier questions, the awareness I got was just, oh right, I just need accountability with other people. It's where we started the call when you were like, what were you getting? Accountability.
Yeah.
And I don't need a lot, but I need some. And it really could be as simple as one person reaching out to me and saying like, oh, hey, how's that thing going? Or me having, I've taken Twitter breaks, and I've told my non-Twitter friends like, hey, I'm taking a break starting Thursday morning. I've already written the tweet saying I'm taking a break. Here it is. Here's a screenshot. I'm on Thursday morning. I'm probably going to say, you know what? I don't need the break. I'm fine. And I just need you all to say no, please. And so it happened. And they all said no. And then they were all like, okay, so during this Twitter break, how about you text us everything you would want to tweet, and we will like it, and we will say retweet, and we will comment on it. And you can basically have a mini little experience of Twitter in this group chat. And I'm like, fantastic. So I think I just need to create structures like that around this, so I'm not just going it alone. And honestly, I already have a ton of structures. I just need to say to like the people in my women's group, hey, I'm doing this here. This would be really great. Why don't we all have a pump each other up about our new offerings meeting every month or week or something.
Cool. Yeah, it's good to be able to like enunciate that and hopefully stick with it when the time comes.
Yeah.
In this like tricky mode here, I'm wondering like, again, like it's shiny and bright and sexy right now. I can imagine potentially hypothetically a few months in, we're going towards like summer. Parks are more crowded. What with the summer vacations, like maybe
Hmm.
some like bad days have happened or some dips, and it's no longer shiny. It's just like a regular old. Oh, I got to go to the theme park again. Ugh. Um, and yet, like, oh, the book, the album, all these other shinier things, much
I
shinier
really
than
should
these
be
old
working
roller
on those
coasters.
things. Yeah. Why am I not?
Right. So, what? How to handle when that desire arises? When
Yeah.
you still know like the roller coaster thing is the thing for you.
Hmm. Well, I do those. I know you were just giving examples, but those two things specifically tend to plague me, and I think I do need to have a conversation with my friend that I wrote the book with because I just intuitively feel like neither of us actually have the emotional bandwidth to be putting it out the way that we want to. We want to turn it into a blog and a podcast, basically. Um, and it's like it's already written. This will be easy, and then you think about doing it, and it's like, wait, that's like a whole other baby to have,
Hmm.
and I don't think I can have. I think I keep trying to have multiple babies at the same time. The album thing, I'm actually really clear. I'm not making an album anytime soon. I've already, for many years, declared I would, and then not done it so many fucking times that I'm like, oh, there's a skill gap here. There's just a skill gap. So all I really want to do is like play around in Logic, sing people's tweets, make like keep noodling on guitar, just all that shit, just for fun and not trying to be something. So just saying that is helpful, like declaring it out loud to another person.
Yeah.
Um, and then I need to talk to my friend about like, are we actually going to do this book thing? Are we just, we have to make some decision about it.
Hmm.
And I think I could probably brain dump a list of every single thing that I have in this sort of, this camp of one day, someday, soon, that's rattling around in my brain, but isn't on paper somewhere, and
Hmm.
just make some decisions, which is actually an exercise I've led clients through in the past. We
Yeah.
called it ideas you ghosted, and like have
Ooh.
everyone like, here's all the ideas I ghosted,
Mm.
and then decide whether to have a little funeral or do they need to be brought back to life or what are you actually going to do. And I haven't done that for myself in a very long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I was wondering if at some point whether like a Michelle like coaching tactic would be useful for yourself here. We found it.
Yep.
Hmm. Ah.
I think overall, what I'm getting from the conversation, which by the way, it's just so great to talk to someone who's not my coach, who is a woman that knows me so incredibly well. It's
Uh,
ridiculous. And it's a huge asset and fantastic. And she's a hell of a lot older than me, doesn't know anything about the internet really. And that's
mm,
also an asset. It's nice because she's not like in it, but it's always good to hear curiosities from other angles.
mm,
And so I'm like, oh, yeah, I really do just need to pare it down and be honest with myself. And I think I have a lot of resistance to just being honest about what is so. What is the case right now? And the case is here are my priorities, and here are the things that are absolutely not happening this year,
mm.
which is what I would say to somebody else if they came to me with this exact thing. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
what are your things?
Yeah. It brings to mind like uh how like cumbersome it can be sometimes just to like approach or understand what's true. Because you mentioned earlier, like, oh no, what if like I find out I don't love this roller coaster offering? And to me, that just says like, oh, great. Now you know that. Now that's like something else true about you and your career that you know and get to like act on
Right.
because you know that about yourself. Yay.
Yeah.
Just like
I also firmly expect to hate it at various points because that's kind of the nature of actually committing to something long term, like marriage. I don't always like being married.
sizzling hot take. Mm,
I'm like,
mm,
what if that's not a problem and that's not a non-starter and that's not like the reason to stop?
mhm. And like in the same vein, I can imagine like when you have like super great roller coaster client theme days, like amazing weather, no lines somehow, even though it's like Saturday in July, like you can really like just maybe take a second between rides or filming something, just like acknowledge like, oh yeah, this is what I wanted the whole time. I have it like days
Yeah.
like today.
I mean, when I went with Miss G and Taco Bell,
Yeah.
and we weren't even going to do like the coaching thing. We were just going as friends
Yeah.
because Miss G was here, and and then it ended up. I mean, they had a wild experience and got so much out of it, and I wasn't actually expecting. Because when we got to the park, I don't remember which one of them just started to be like, okay, so when you go with a client, like what's the framework or what would we be thinking about before we go on? I was
Oh.
like, oh, you want to do this, okay. And instantly out of my mouth all of these things start coming out that I didn't really expect.
Mhm.
And then they were having these transformational experiences on the coasters, and in between I was telling them facts about roller coasters like I'm a fucking tour guide at a museum or something. And because I know I've done some hyper focus into stuff about roller coaster companies and the building of them. And at the end, they were like, "Wow, it was great. It was like coaching. It was very therapeutic, and also I learned a lot." Like, I suppose it's sort of an unintentional offering that I will also teach you things about coasters, about the history of it, and insofar as it's relevant to what we're talking about, which it ended up being in ways that I didn't expect. Um, so yeah, I think one of the things I'm being short sighted about, because we're looking at right now, you and I are looking at, okay, what bad things am I being short sighted about that I could get ahead of, but also there's all these positives that I'm not even thinking about, how fun it can be and how well it can go and how transformative it can be for people and how fueling that is. I forget about that too.
Hmm.
I just expect it
Mhm.
to be, I don't know, when you asked me earlier, did you expect to be in this place? And I'm like, maybe I don't think enough about where I will be or meditate
Mhm.
on that, or because one of the ways I used to motivate myself to go to the gym is when I was working with a trainer is I would like lay in bed and really get into the minds, close my eyes and get into the mindset of what it feels like to leave the gym and get in my car. Ooh,
Yeah.
that's like a delicious moment,
Yeah.
right? So I would get that in mind and then be like, oh hell yeah, I want that, and just get out of bed and go and just be so excited for the after part. So that's also something I could
Mhm.
practice.
Yeah. Hmm. That's really I don't know, like, it's just, like, cool to hear that from you as someone who, like, often is, like, not present and, like, thinking about, like, future things. It's like, oh, there are people who, like, are more naturally present and don't think about the future, and, you know, they both have, like, strengths and drawbacks, and, it's cool to, like, be able to learn from the other person's way of being.
Mm,
Um, I wanna mention too, it sounds like a a potential strength if you're on, like, a day-long theme park thing with a client, like, maybe, like, it could be, like, draining or, like, just the endurance of, like, doing personal development slash coaster stuff all day, just, like, having your hyper focused, like, knowledge base of being a tour guide too, like, just sounds like a nice way to, like, converse. It's not
mm.
about just, like, the development stuff or what ride is next, like, and just, like, have a more casual conversation about, "Oh, yeah, here's the history of this company or this coaster," and,
Yeah,
like, it's a big strength for you as your offering, I feel like, just to be able to fill conversational space in that way if it feels right.
yeah, yeah. I love that, and that is how it went. That is how it went.
Mhm.
Because there were fascinating things to share about uh, why the restraints are like that and the laws in New Jersey, and like
Mhm.
roller coasters go slower when it's cold out, and there's just like all these random things to factor in.
Mhm.
uh, and you bring to mind something that I've talked to my coach about but haven't um, yet had occasion to solidify, which is, what does the day actually look like? Oh, my husband's always talking to me about this too. He's like, what are you going to do? Like, what's the schedule, you know?
Yeah.
And I actually, I think I did create, and it's probably in this notebook that I have in front of me, a mock-up of how the day could go. And he's very adamant. My husband is very adamant about minimizing the number of coasters we go on and having them be more intentional because they're physically exhausting after a while. And
Yeah.
when I got it to the Miss G and Taco Bell and I went on 12.
Woo.
Yeah.
Okay.
We went on 12 times. And I was so, and like they're younger than me. I'm not that old, but like they still had some juice at the end of the day. And I was like, there's a picture of us on the wooden coaster at night, and it was I think our second time riding it. And Miss G is gripping the handlebar and is like, ah! And Taco has her arms up and is just smiling, and I'm sitting back with my hands crossed over my lap, just serenely smiling. And I didn't have my arms up because I was
Incredible.
tired. So that was a lot of coasters in a day. So I probably shouldn't do that. Probably be good to just build in rest throughout even the day at the park, because even that, you go 20,000 steps when you go to that park.
Yeah.
Like pretty sure thing you'll be in the 18 to 20,000 step range after a day at that park. And you don't I don't even notice how much I'm exhausting myself until it's happened, because again, back to the, I don't really think about what's about to happen. I'm just like very what's around me right now and let me react to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think building in rest is super important to the day.
Yeah. It's fractal, like both in the day itself and then, in the days after.
After.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's one thing I wanted to do. Because someone asked me, what do you recommend essentially for like roller coaster aftercare?
Yeah.
So I've done some exploration around that, and I went to my acupuncture session the day after a day at the park, and I did I was like, I need a back treatment after having gone on all these roller coasters, because they kind of mess you up. And he's like, all right, the roller coaster special. And I was like, man, this is an interesting thing. This
Mm-hmm.
and Epsom salt baths or a day at the spa, which Great Adventure is actually adding a spa they're adding a spa and resort to it. So there's all of this possibility for creating like a guide for people for here's what I suggest after.
Yeah, another like value add-on just for
Right.
you as the service. Like, here's what to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
Nice. Hmm. Ah. Hmm. Yeah. I'd like to I guess also hear from you like towards the end here. So like the North Star again, like beyond this year, you mentioned briefly at some point in our call, like the, or maybe I said it, like the world tour, like going over the world of theme
Mm-hmm.
parks, corporate, flying about and stuff. I want to hear like an articulation of like what is in a little more detail that like grand vision, like what will this become in all the best case scenarios?
Mm.
Like what does this look like in its next future iteration?
I think what I really want is to be known, first of all, just known as the coach who does this,
Okay.
period. But
Yeah.
specifically, I would love if it becomes something that CEOs with a stick up their ass are suggested to do. Like,
Mm-hmm.
do Michelle's program, go to the theme park with her, get over your shit. There's that. And then also having it be just a well-known offering for teams and team building, because I feel like companies are constantly looking for team building opportunities. And they'll like, actually, I ran into a guy who was a manager of Five Guys, and he had like a Five Guys t-shirt on. He's like, oh yeah, it's all the area managers in New Jersey are here today. And I was like, well, why aren't you with them? And he's like, I don't really know anybody. They didn't really organize anything for us. They sort of just sent us here. And it sparked in my mind, oh, companies are trying to do stuff all the time. They have budgets for this, but they don't necessarily organize well around it and turn it into an experience. So I want to create experiences for teams that transform them, that are transformative, the same way the coach training program has been so transformative for so many people. It's like, I want that to be this. And similar to my rush to have an album without learning how to just finish a fucking song first, it's like this year is finishing songs and getting that foundation up under me so that it can be this thing, and honestly, that it could be the thing I do in my business, the only thing I do. I would
Yeah.
love that.
Michelle, the coaster coach. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It all sounds super exciting and like maybe something to like hold as that North Star in those inevitable low moments and low days in this
Yeah,
pursuit.
yeah.
It's no longer super shiny.
I could write it out too. Just write out the vision and have it for a rainy day to reread, because I can
Yeah.
be very romantic and do some really great writing, and then I just forget
Do your daughters do
what I
dramatic
wrote.
reading?
Yeah. Incidentally, also the way to keep a marriage going and re-romanticizing it. It's like, oh right, remember who we actually are together, and remember what we're capable of beyond the little problems and the annoyances of the day. Right.
Yeah, I'm like still looking forward to seeing how this develops for you and what it looks like going forward.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go ahead and close off the container of the
Alrighty.
Find Your Breakthrough call here.
Presume.
Now it's us. Um, so, like, three things for you. First, like, thank you so much, Michelle, for booking a call and agreeing to have it publicly recorded here, which is valuable as a distribution mechanism. Just raise awareness of this offering. Two totally like optional next things, if either feel good for you to do. One is I would love feedback written out, either just like personally for me or formatted as a testimonial I can add to the landing page for this service. Whenever that feels good to like write or send to me, please do. And if you feel called to, please tell someone about this service. I feel like word of mouth is pretty underrated as a whatever marketing sales mechanism.
Yeah.
So those are two, again, both optional requests for you. To anyone listening now or in the future, I offer this as a service. It's called Find Your Breakthrough, where a person talks to me for an hour about whatever's going on with them. You can learn more, read testimonials, book a call at the link in my bio. Yeah, just want to thank everyone for listening. Thank you again, Michelle, for having this call. Is there anything else you want to like say, like just for yourself, future Michelle listening to this, perhaps at the end here?
No, just thank you for creating a space for me to just get back to. It's not like I've never realized these things ever, but there's some of it was uh very very much an aha in this moment of, but it's more like a, oh right, fuck. Right. But I think just your unique curiosity about my life had me look at it differently, and recognizing I didn't expect to talk about the roller coaster thing today at all.
Sure.
So that's neat. Once we started in on that, I was like, ooh, yeah, this is what to talk about right now. This totally has been on the back burner. I lost sight of that. I've been like low key knowing it in the back of my mind. It's been niggling at me, but I just didn't I didn't realize it until this moment. So thank you so much for just your unique curiosity. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for that reflection and glad to hear the impact it's had for you. All right, I'm going to close off the Twitter space. Thanks for
Okay.
listening, everyone. Take care.
Bye, everybody.